Hey everybody, this is Puka, and today I'm covering the finals of a battle road I recently went to. This is the finals of the Joliet, Illinois battle roads. Now we have quite a strange matchup here. Well, not strange, but, well, I would say lopsided in favor of one player. But we'll see how it turns out. On the left we have Nick with a TZPS, Tornadus, Zekrom, Patchy, Shaman. Basically aims to get going right away on the first turn, start putting pressure on the opponent with the quick attackers like Zekrom, Tornadus, and Pokemon Catcher to keep bringing up threats. And on the right we got Ricky with Gothitelle. Now what does Gothitelle aim to do? It aims to get a Gothitelle, obviously, and then use its Magic Room ability to shut off trainer cards. So that'll make it pretty much impossible for Nick with his Zekrom and Tornadus, which can never do 130 damage, to knock out a Gothitelle. So we're going to see a match where basically one side's trying to set up, the other side's trying to prevent him from ever setting up, because that's the only way he's ever going to win. So we're going to see, can Ricky withstand the heat of Zekrom and Tornadus early on, or will he weather the storm, get his Gothitelle going, and Reuniclus, and eventually win. So we start off with Nick on the left. He Pokegeared for a Collector. He opened with Zekrom as well. So he's playing this Collector right now, getting a Tornadus, Pachirisu, and it looks like another Tornadus. But the important thing to note is that he opened with Zekrom. Now, with these decks, it's actually better to open with Tornadus, not Zekrom. Tornadus is a more efficient attacker. It conserves your energy. You only need a Lightning and a double colorless in order to attack with it, so it's cheaper. And Bold Strike with Zekrom, you hurt yourself. So usually you want to start with Tornadus, but Zekrom is your second best starter. Obviously much better than Pachirisu and Shaman, so I'm sure Nick's not complaining too much about this start. However, it doesn't look like he has the cards really to pull off that first turn combo with Pachirisu, Shaman, and get 3 energy and play on the first turn. So it looks like he's just going to catch her out, Gothita, and pass. Normally you wouldn't want to just waste a catcher like that, but in this instance, you know at some point your trainers are probably going to be shut off by Gothitelle's Magic Room, so probably not a bad idea to just get rid of as many trainers as possible while you can. So let's see here, we're seeing a Playground from Ricky, and he's just filling his bench. 2 Solosis, 2 Gothita, and a Cleffa. So what does this tell Nick? Tells Nick, well, okay, my opponent didn't play a supporter, and bear with me as I move the camera a little bit. So he didn't play a supporter, and he used Playground for Cleffa. Now this could mean one of 2 things. The first thing is he just has a terrible hand. He's got to Eek, and you know, maybe that's the case. The other thing is, maybe he doesn't have a hand he can use immediately, such as having a Twins in his hand, and he has to wait for his opponent to take a prize. So he can get that Cleffa for insurance, and then if something gets knocked out, say his opponent catches up the Cleffa or something like that, then he can just play Twins, and he'll be fine anyway. So Nick's kind of got to make that decision right now. Does he think his opponent is just grabbing the Cleffa because his hand is so bad, or does he really think, well, he's sitting on a Twin, so no matter what I do, I'm probably in trouble. And in Nick's case, you're probably thinking, well, Cleffa is usually a telltale sign that my opponent's hand isn't very good. I'm not going to win if my opponent sets up, so my best shot is probably to catch her out Cleffa if possible, and knock that thing out, and hope that Ricky doesn't have anything in his hand. So we're going to have to see what Nick decides to do. He's played an Energy Search, and then he Junk Armed for the Energy Search, and he got 2 Lightning, so he'll be able to use Pachirisu Self-Generation, play down 2 Lightning like he just did, and Celebration win with Shaman, move 2 Lightning up to his active, and now he'll be able to Bolt Strike if he wants to. So here we have a catcher, and he actually decides to go for Gothita. Now, I don't really agree with this play, but you know, you can never go wrong catching out stuff like Gothita, just because, well, that's the heart and soul of your opponent's deck. And there you go. Ricky had a twins in his hand anyway. So my strategy wouldn't have done any better because he's got that twins in his hand. But at the same time, you have to realize Gothitelle decks, unless they run Tropical Beach, you know, they can play a twins and get Rare Candy Gothitelle. That's fine. But then their hand's going to be small unless they have something else. You know, unless they have another supporter in their hand, like an Oak's New Theory or some way to draw more cards. They're just going to be stuck in a small hand with not too many options. So he might have had to eke anyway. But in this situation, looks like Ricky didn't really have to. So now we're going to have to see what's next. Alright, so Nick's going to put a Lightning onto Tornadus. And here I would love to see him use Bolt Strike. I don't think there's a real downside to it, but he decides to use Outrage. Reason being, he can use Bolt Strike, and he knows Ricky's hand is kind of small. He doesn't have access to everything at this point, but, you know, there's another twins, so maybe he does. But, what I was going to say is you might as well just Bolt Strike for 120. You know, if Ricky does have Reuniclus, you know, that's bad, but he might not have anywhere to move the damage. So he might have to knock out his own stuff, which can give you an advantage. But in this case, he does have Rare Candy Reuniclus. The other option was he didn't have access to a Reuniclus or something like that. And then, you know, I guess it wouldn't matter if he used Outrage or Bolt Strike then, but I still would have rather seen a Bolt Strike there. It just puts more pressure on Ricky, and you know, it might force him to knock out his own Pokemon with Damage Swap, which is kind of what you want. That's the only way you're going to win at this point, is to overwhelm him, put so much damage on his board that he can't really knock you out, and also, you notice Ricky didn't attach an energy that turn, so there was no threat to Mad Kinesis, and you know, he could have Bolt Strike twice, and then done it a third time, putting himself at 120 self-damage, and then he could outrage Ricky's Gothitelle for a knockout, unless Ricky had a double colorless or something like that, which really just probably would have won him the game. So, you know, kind of a missed opportunity. You don't know if it would have worked, but that's fine. So now we see Ricky's damage swapping some damage over to Reuniclus, and then Max Potion to heal it all off. This is a nice combo you can run with Gothitelle and Reuniclus. So once again, he's going to move 80 over to Reuniclus, Max Potion it off, and now we see Nick is pretty much locked. There's not a whole lot he can do. He can't knock out Gothitelle in one hit. He can just keep hitting Gothitelle, but, you know, it's got 130 hit points. It's not getting knocked out in one hit. And that Reuniclus is just going to damage swap the damage to his bench. And that's going to be it. There's no way that Gothitelle is getting knocked out anymore. It's probably going to just sweep through him and take 6 prizes. So his best hope is probably just to do as much damage as possible. Try to bludgeon Ricky to death. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen this time. And we see Ricky plays a catcher for bench Zekrom, just buying some time. And, you know, this is a pretty smart thing Ricky just did. He noticed an opening here. He saw, oh, my opponent's bench is full, so there's no opportunity for him to play a Shaman. And there's just a naked Zekrom with no energy on it. And, you know, it has 2 retreat costs, so I'm going to catcher out this Zekrom with 2 retreat costs, buy myself some time to attach energy to my own Zekrom, or my Gothitelle, sorry. So, you know, he could just keep powering up the Gothitelle, eventually get enough for Mad Kinesis, and just sweep through Nick on the left here. So, this is really going to be the nail in the coffin for Nick, I think. You know, he's got that Zekrom stuck active. He only has a Tornadus and a Zekrom. Ricky's got his whole setup. He's got all day to do whatever he wants. He can just sit here attaching all day if he wants. He doesn't even have to knock out that Zekrom until he has 15 energy on that Gothitelle if you really wanted. So, at this point, I would say the game is pretty much over in Ricky's favor. Once Gothitelle gets this set up against Zekrom, there's not a whole lot that can be done unless they play some techs just to beat Gothitelle. Even those aren't too reliable, so you know, it's going to be hard for Nick to find a way out here. You know, the only thing I would say Ricky would have to worry about at this point is a black belt. He doesn't want to get careless and then jump ahead in prizes and then open up a door for a black belt with Zekrom's Bolt Strike to do a bunch of damage and then take the Gothitelle out of play. So that's got to be Ricky's only fear at this point. I don't know if Nick runs one, but you know, if you're playing Gothitelle or some kind of a lock deck that that really focuses the strategy on not getting knocked out, then it's something you got to keep in mind. But you see, Nick promotes the Zekrom, which tells me he doesn't have any black belt plans in his future. If he did, he would attack with Tornadus, saving the Zekrom. But in this situation, you just see he's going to send it out. He might be able to Bolt Strike again for 120, like he just did. But at this point, it's pretty much over. You know, it's funny to say the game's tied at 5-5 prizes and it's over. But it pretty much is. Unless Ricky just draws absolutely nothing the rest of the game. And just can't find places to put damage, which I don't think will be the case. He just put down that rest ram and moved 120 damage to a damage swap. You know, that's going to be the only way he really loses. But it looks like Ricky wasn't too worried about black belt. And I guess he didn't really have to be because... Oh, there we go. He didn't really have to be because there was no Zekrom powered up. The only way he would have lost is a Shaman moving 3 lightning to another Zekrom and a black belt. You know, that actually would have turned the game around completely for Nick. He would have won, I think, if that happened, but with the current situation, there's just no way Nick could do anything. So, he scoops to save time, and we're going to move on to Game 2. So, stay tuned for Game 2. I'll be right back.